Corruption is a dangerous enemy. It does not carry swords or guns, but it exists within organizations and undermines our work. Corruption is not just a problem in any one country, it is a global issue within governments. If someone complains about corruption in their own country and compares it to the world, they should know that there are cases of bribery and abuse of power for personal gain that are even more outrageous in other countries. Let's take a look at some corruption cases that have shaken the world's politics. First is the case of a high-ranking official who caused the police to spend 2 nights counting his corruption money. This is the case of Chinese military general Gu Junshan, who used to manage real estate and infrastructure of the Ministry of Defense. Later, he was promoted to be the deputy director of the General Logistics Department, holding many valuable assets of the military, so he could not resist his greed. In 2012, Gu Junshan was investigated for economic issues, which was actually a crackdown on corrupt officials. When Cao's corruption was exposed, the Chinese and international media were shocked. The country's economic police had to deploy 20 staff and spend 2 days and nights counting his money. They also needed 4 trucks to transport all the money. In addition, Cao's real estate assets were spread all over China, including many expensive villas located in prime locations. In Beijing alone, he owned dozens of apartments with an area of at least 200 square meters, mostly located in the city center, which he used as gifts for his superiors. Cao Guangjing was famous for his love of gold. In his mansions, they found a gold statue of former Chairman Mao Zedong, a gold washing basin, a gold model boat, and many unused Mao Tai liquor bottles. This corrupt official was also notorious for his extremely depraved personality. He had a list of dozens of official mistresses and hundreds of one-night stands. Once, Gu boasted about having been with many celebrities, and he even used his 20-year-old daughter as a gift for his superiors. When he was caught, Cao admitted that he had waited outside while his daughter had sex with his boss. Finally, Gu Junshan was sentenced to death, but the sentence was suspended for 2 years. Later, his sentence was reduced to life imprisonment. The second case is the collapse of a minister of public security. When it comes to corruption in China, one cannot forget the case of Zhou Yongkang. He was the Minister of Public Security, in charge of China's security forces and law enforcement, and his power was believed to be third only to the country's top leaders. Zhou's downfall was considered the strongest move in President Xi Jinping's campaign to clean up corrupt officials. In addition to accepting bribes, Zhou Yongkang also established a vast network of corruption, extending its tentacles into key sectors of the economy such as oil and gas and law enforcement. His total assets were estimated to be $14.5 billion, and his family held $160 million. Zhou was also considered ruthless, willing to assassinate opponents and those who exposed his corrupt secrets. He was sentenced to life in prison for bribery, abuse of power, and leaking state secrets. During his trial, Zhou made his final statement: "I will obey the court's decision and will not appeal." Third, earning $500,000 a day. Although he was only Prime Minister of Ukraine from 1996 to 1997, Pavlo Lazarenko showed an impressive speed of making money. Within a year, he embezzled up to $200 million from the state budget, equivalent to $500,000 a day. To do this, Lazarenko set up numerous accounts under other people's names in several banks in countries such as Switzerland, Poland, and Antigua. He also set up many shell companies in the United States to buy many investment assets. After being accused and investigated for corruption, Lazarenko fled abroad. In December 2008, the Swiss government issued an arrest warrant for him for crossing the border from France into Switzerland. However, thanks to posting a $3 million bail, Lazarenko was released, and a few months later, he fled to the United States. In this country, Lazarenko was also charged with illegal entry. After being investigated and receiving a wanted notice from the Ukrainian government, U.S. officials indicted him on 53 charges, including fraud, money laundering, smuggling, and corruption. Finally, Lazarenko had to serve 97 months in prison in the United States and pay a fine of $30 million. He was released in 2012 and became a living exile because he was not accepted back in his home country of Ukraine. Fourth, the bottomless greed of a president's bag. There was once a president with an insatiable thirst for corruption. And that was Arnoldo Alemán, the president of Nicaragua from 1997 to 2002. In 2002, when his term ended, he was accused of embezzling public funds, fraud, and election rigging for many years. The amount of money that Alemán embezzled reached $100 million. Up to 14 of President Alemán's family members were arrested for relying on him to plunder the national budget. What was particularly revealed was that Alemán owned an unlimited credit card, meaning that he could spend as much as he wanted. Of course, to pay off the debt of that bottomless credit card, it was the tax money of the Nicaraguan people. It was reported that a honeymoon trip by the president in Italy cost $26,000, equivalent to 600 million dong. The trip to India with his wife also cost up to $68,000. And one night at a hotel on Bali Island, Indonesia cost up to $13,700. His corrupt money was also laundered through shell companies and fake investment accounts in Panama and the United States. Then, it was used to buy high-value assets, including real estate and certificates of deposit. The account was also used to divide the embezzled money among his family members. Fifth, the female president who was impeached. South Korea is a highly developed country with an economy that is always in the top 10 in the world. However, it is also a country with a high ranking of corruption. The reason is that the country's assets are mainly in the hands of large, powerful economic groups such as Samsung, Lotte, Kia, and Hyundai. These conglomerates use money to build political influence, contributing to government officials committing embezzlement crimes. One of the biggest corruption scandals in South Korea was that of former Prime Minister Park Geun-hye. She was the daughter of former President Park Chung-hee, who took the country from a poor nation to an Asian and world powerhouse. Born into a family dynasty, Park had many favorable conditions when entering the market. She did not marry and did not have children, so the Korean people hoped that she would be the most honest president, not influenced by family factions. However, Park Geun-hye shattered the dreams of Korean people. One day, the media in Korea announced that all of the president's speeches were composed by Choi Soon-sil, a close friend of Park Geun-hye. It is worth noting that Choi Soon-sil did not hold any government position. The people strongly protested and demanded that President Park resign. Because she allowed someone without official duties to be involved in the country's important issues. Park's admission and apology on the media only added fuel to the fire. Immediately, a widespread investigation took place. The investigative agency revealed that the president had repeatedly requested large corporations to contribute to non-profit funds managed by Choi. Not only that, but officials with opposing views were also suppressed and demoted. Next, the investigation agency found that the president received a bribe of $52.7 million from major corporations such as Lotte and Samsung. On March 10, 2017, the Constitutional Court of South Korea decided to impeach President Park Geun-hye. Currently, the first female former president of South Korea is being detained in the capital city of Seoul. Sixth, changing laws to accept bribes. The United States is a country that prides itself on democracy, but it is not immune to corruption. In fact, it is much worse than many other countries because officials dare to amend laws to facilitate bribery. This is the case of California State Senator Ron Calderon. As we know, the United States is divided into many states with organizations equivalent to small countries. And each state even has its own laws in addition to the common federal laws. Although only a state senator, Ron Calderon participated in amending California's laws. He came from a politically influential family in Los Angeles. Throughout his political career, Ron Calderon exploited the power and influence of his family to amend laws and create a sophisticated bribery system. He created an underground law called pay to play, which meant that businesses wanting to do business easily had to pay bribes. And individuals wanting to advance their political careers also had to pay him for support. He also used his power to exchange favors. Ron Calderon once demanded that companies arrange for his son to work with a high salary, regardless of their contribution. Specifically, to gain benefits from the laws expanding tax credits for the film industry that Ron Calderon issued. film studios had to hire his daughter to work with a salary of $3,000 per month. However, bad deeds always have consequences, and Ron Calderón had to face 24 federal indictments from accusers. He had to appear in court several times, but he stubbornly refused to plead guilty. The California Senate President pro tempore asked him to resign or take leave. And prosecutors even stated that if he was convicted of all charges, Ron Calderón would face up to 400 years in prison. Corruption, like an octopus, infiltrates every agency and organization, whether it is a state or private or non-governmental organization. It destroys an entire country from within. However, not immediately like wars. Corruption gnaws every hour, every minute, and corrupts those who should serve the people in the country. Therefore, anti-corruption efforts must be carried out continuously, relentlessly, and without compromise.